the inspiration to write the book was, of course, finding myself living in California and being familiar with other books in the series. When presented with the opportunity, it's kind of titillating to do a desserts book for something as huge as the city of Los Angeles. Well, I ended up there after Katrina. As I mentioned to you, I'm bi-coastal. I still have a residence in New Orleans and spend more time actually in Los Angeles now. But, yep, we landed there after the hurricane. Well, that was quite challenging. As you know, there are thousands and thousands of restaurants throughout the LA area. And when I got a handle on that and realized that trying to bring this down to just a few that were meaningful and meant something to Los Angelinos, it was quite challenging. So I began looking at the history of the city and the ethnicities throughout the city, and the goal was to include as much of the great icons of the city, the Brown Derby, the Chasins, the Knott's Berry Farm, and the Disney, all of the things that were part of the structure, so that made the city kind of fascinating, and then the newer elements as well. So so the pot was huge to pick from, culling it down to meaningful and significant chefs or restaurants or bakeries was challenging. Oh, the trends certainly toward the fresh food and the homegrown food and the natural products, and certainly, you know, the edgier presentations of the food with the sauces. Well, the challenges were to have recipes that were used and commonly used in a restaurant kitchen or you know, a bakery kitchen or wherever. The production there is quite different from what you find in the home kitchen. And so to prepare these or to modify these or to adjust them to components that were readily available or the quantities that are familiar or using equipment that you would find, those were challenges, and then testing them all very carefully and often more than one time to be sure that in fact they did work. Oh my goodness, we had some wonderful contributions from chefs like Joachim Splichal, who does this wonderful chocolate Marcona gâteau, which actually is the cover feature, but it's a wonderful recipe, and it's lends to success every time it's done. There were apple desserts. It was an apple crostata that is it's beautiful to look at. You know, it has a caramel sauce over it. It's as beautiful to look at as it is to eat. There. Well, that's very interesting. I've always been interested in cooking and did a great deal of cooking and entertaining in my life and in my business. My grandmother was a wonderful cook and owned restaurants, and that was her livelihood. My mother had seven of us, seven children. Granny and Granddad lived with us, so there were often 11 people. I mean, often every night, 11 people at the table for dinner. So you had to be a good cook. I mean, you weren't going to take that group out to dinner at night. And after Katrina, my business, when I had to leave the city, my business slowed, and so I ended up going to culinary school at the Cordon Bleu in Pasadena, and that's sort of what spawned this new adventure.